The financial clinic is coming up shortly. Bench kama kawaida tumeweka nje, tumeisanitize, tumeipanguza namna hii so that you can sit 1.5 meters away from each other and get ready for this discussion and also get ready with your questions. But before we get into that, I have a question for you. And my question is, supposing you were to lose your job today, how many more months would you survive paying your bills and being able to meet your expenses? Supposing you lost your job today, nothing else is forthcoming, how many more months do you have to go being able to pay your bills and just sustain yourself? Talk to me. 20316 SMS line, WhatsApp number 0786316316, because we'll be talking about those unforeseen financial liabilities, like when you lose your job suddenly. That's coming up shortly. Right now, tuchambue gazeti, what's making headlines in the local dailies today. Daily Nation, big story, Uhuru and Suluhu hit the reset button. It says Kenya and Tanzania have announced a number of trade deals on President Samia's first official visit to Nairobi, highlighting the two neighboring countries' readiness to turn the page on recent squabbles that have impeded cross-border flow of investments. I think that's a good thing. I love the picture on the front page of both dailies. There's the Daily Nation and the Standard. The big story in the Standard is end of the road for BBI change for proponents. So different headlines, different focus. Let's jump into the Daily Nation and see what else is in here. Bill Gates, Bill and Melinda Gates. People have been talking about this, Jana, the whole day. People are still talking about it. A parting of friends after a lifetime of partnership. These guys are getting a divorce after about, is it 27 years of marriage? Yeah, 27 years of marriage. And they're finally deciding, let's just remain as friends. Let's work together. This marriage thing ain't working between the two of us. You can read the details in the local dailies today. Other stories making headlines in the Daily Nation newspaper. There's quite a bit on politics. If politics is your thing, you can check out that. Going to the center pages, quite a bit on the editorials. And then from the counties, churches, politicians, NGOs, top grabbers, list of shame. That is just sad. Says churches, politicians, local tycoons, and non-governmental organizations are top the list of shame in an audit report in Nyandarua County, where thousands of acres of public utility land has been lost to grabbers. Such a shame. Center pages, Daily Nation today, pull out. What are we looking at? We are looking at motoring and parenting. On parenting, it's all about a grandmother's love. Grace Jogona is a source of hope and acceptance for children living with disabilities. She's based in Nakuru. You can read her story. And then in the back pages, court upholds Sosion sacking as a teacher. And in sports, you have quite a bit on soccer, both local and international, with the international focusing on the UEFA Champions League semi-finals. Standard newspaper, like I said, big story is all about BBI and of the road for BBI change proponents. It says National Assembly Speaker Justin Muturi slams the brakes on the raging debate and push to change the BBI bill, ruling that tampering with the popular process will directly negate the will of the people. It is widely expected that the Senate Speaker will also follow suit. That's the big story right there. The story of Melinda and Bill Gates also highlighted in the Standard newspaper. And then Suluhu visit signals better trade relations between Kenya and Tanzania. You can check that out in the Standard newspaper as well. Interesting article here by Peter Opondo. Kenyan hospitals are sitting ducks for digital disruption. Find out how. Pullout is enterprise, starting a business, making money, getting connected. And today they are focusing on what I learned from my business wins and losses. It is all about George Washiori, founder of Optivent, sharing his story. And there's also something very interesting here, all about marketing. 7 business survival lessons you can learn from Zuckerberg and Facebook. And then in sports, it's soccer, and more soccer. My friend, hayo tu na mengine mengi you will find in the local dailies today. Grab a copy, keep yourself informed on what's happening both locally and also international. Like I said, Wednesday, financial clinic, we're going to be looking at those unforeseen financial liabilities, and the focus today is when you lose your job suddenly, how do you survive? What do you need to do? That's coming up shortly. My question for today is, if you were to lose your job today, how long would you keep going without any other source of income coming in? How long would you continue to be able to pay your bills? Zipporah says, probably a month. She says, in my head, if I lost my job today, I'd move home this same week and figure out what to do with that money to generate more. So since you're all alone in your household, that plan would be easy to execute. And then I have got this one from Ken coming in from Nakuru. Ken says if he lost his job today, he has no idea what he would do. He would not be able to pay his bills. He says, I only earn 25K and I don't seem to know where all that money goes. Ken, I hope that in today's discussion, you'll be able to find some answers. And then Patrick from Nyeri says, good morning. Every time I save for a rainy day, it seems like the next day becomes the rainy day, and you're wondering, is something wrong with you? I'm sure we'll get to talk about that as we get into our interview for today. I've got two amazing ladies in studio with me via Zoom. Ruth Njoroge, financial advisor. Ruth, how are you doing? Ruth, can you hear me? Ruth, your microphone is off. You are speaking to yourself.
Hello,
yes. She is back. We can hear you. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you for this opportunity.
Yes, karibu sana.
Asante.
We also have Liz Kerubo. Liz, how are you doing?
I'm very fine, Pasty. How are you?
I'm very fine. Karibu sana. Now, when we talk about losing a job, that is something that you've been through, isn't it?
Yes.
Tell us what happened.
Well, I'm just trying to think of a nice way of saying it, but so late 2019, this was actually even before COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So late 2019, the financial industry, I was in a financial institution.
Yeah.
As we all know, it had been going through strains and all through. So the organization in which I was had been having a series of restructuring, all the terms they use,
Yes.
Restructuring, optimization, etc., etc. So my role happened to be one of those that was rendered redundant.
Oh.
And yeah, so one day I'm meeting with my boss my line manager then, to have a conversation with her on my growth plan, actually.
Mm-hmm.
It was very hilarious. I had set up a meeting to have a conversation with my boss on my growth plan. And it happened to be the day when my line manager actually told me, you know what, unfortunately, your role is falling redundant. Mm-hmm. So you're facing retrenchment. We're giving you a notice of X period mm-hmm. for you to either look for another role within the organization to be redeployed or consider leaving the organization.
So did you find another role or did you end up leaving the organization?
Sorry, just say that again?
Did you find another role or did you end up leaving the organization?
I actually ended up leaving the organization.
Ooh, were you ready for that?
No, actually. No.
You were not ready for that.
If I was ready for that, I would be the one who was telling my line manager, I am giving you 1 month's notice or X period notice.
Yeah.
So that, I'm leaving.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I wasn't.
Ruth, this is where you come in. Because for some reason we always think we will work this job forever. We are never ready for that day when we are told, your time is up. And I'm imagining, and I'm sure maybe Liz can confirm this, when you get that communication, you go through a lot of emotions and sometimes you're lost, you don't know what to do. So here I am, Ruth, I've lost my job today. Where do I begin?
Percy, I was trying to give an analogy, and the income we receive, the salary we receive, it's like an umbrella.
Your audio is so low.
We don't feel the rain. And then all of a sudden, depending on how stable our umbrella was, the rain comes, and then now there's no income. Sometimes it stays on a bit longer, but then at some point, it flaps back, and you don't have, and the rain starts hitting you. Because when you have an umbrella, you don't know how hard it is raining. And we normally say when you lose your job, that's when now torrential rain. It rains, and when we say it rains, it pours.
It pours.
And in some cases, it floods. That is when now we start wondering, how do we swim through? Some get drowned, Some get into depression. Some wonder now, how do I get out of this? But then again, there's some who pick up faster than others.
Okay.
Now, depending on what they have done in the past. So these are two kinds of people. Those people who have already known this day will come, and there's something I've done. But then there are people who, whatever happens to Tajua, we will know when that day comes. And it takes a bit longer for them to pick themselves up. And so we're going to see how should you avoid the shock that comes now when the rain starts hitting you, because the rain happens to the best of us.
Yeah.
COVID taught us quite a bit. And then we'll also learn that it's not only your employer who can fire you. Per se, a medical condition can also fire you.
Very true.
It takes all your savings. Financial contingency, something you didn't expect to happen, it comes and it tilts everything around. And I mean, COVID also came, and even the strong companies, there was a lot of layoff, businesses went down. What you thought you would get, you no longer get it. So where do you start? It's like a drawing board now.
It's very true.
Here we are. What do we do? It's also a place of no hope. It's a place of no inaction. But it should not be. You can actually build back hope. I'm reminded of this scripture that do not cast off your confidence, because it is of great reward. That is the point now you say to yourself, I need to look ahead.
Okay.
People are looking up to me. Family is looking up to me. What do I do?
Yeah. I love what you've said. And I'm just wondering, Liz, which of the two people are you? I mean, because Ruth is saying there are those who, at the back of their mind, they know this day might come. Wanakuwaga na kakikapu hapo nyuma. They throw something in there, waiting. If that day comes, at least I'll be sorted for X number of months or days. But then there are the carefree who says, what will be, will be. So which side of the fence were you when this whole announcement came?
Fortunately, and I thank God, I happened to be in the former side where I actually had savings and a bit of investment set up that were able to give me a buffer during that period. Yes, so it didn't it wasn't as in terms of the financial impact. At least I had something.
You had
a buffer.
something, okay.
And my mindset has always been to live within my means, not to overspend. I'm the people who would go to wholesale shops even before, go to wholesale shops, buy my clothes from Tumba, So the transition for me was not too heavy in that sense. However, that said, there's a lot that is attached to a job.
Yeah.
A lot of, in terms of identity, what people identify you as. I mean, when you meet someone, the first thing that they tell you, you mention your name, then, what do you do?
Yes.
So the loss of a job is actually a loss. So it has a very, very great impact in terms of someone's identity. Sometimes it even hits people in terms of their value, because for some people, your job is you.
Yeah, very true.
Yes, and as you rightfully said, there are a lot of emotions that come with that transition, right? From sometimes it is shame. You don't know how to have that conversation with people.
Yes.
Anxiety, what next? Fear of the unknown. Because even for me, with the case that, saving for a rainy day, you're never rainy day ni ile siku ile itakuja.
Yes.
Itakuja, but itakuja lini ni wale, so
I love something you've shared. I love something you've shared there, because sometimes when we talk about losing a job, mostly people focus on the financial aspect. But there's more to it than that. There are all these emotions. There's the status. There's the image you have. There's the relationship you had built in the place where you're working. And all these things come into play, and they can really, really put you down. Just like Ruth said, some people sink into depression. And so I'm just wondering, Ruth, for that person, at least for Liz, she had a basket, a rainy day ilikuwa hapo. She had something that she was putting aside. But what about that person especially like now with this COVID season, some people are just hit out of nowhere, and you didn't have anything you have been putting aside, and all these emotions and all these disconnections. Where does one begin?
Pasi, there's also a question you've mentioned. Someone was telling you how they only earn 25,000, and they wonder now after their job is over, they go back home. I like what Elizabeth has said, that at least she had some basket somewhere, and you come to realize that it is not your salary that makes you rich; it's your spending habits. You can have that 10,000, that 20,000, but you end up standing even after 2 months or 3 months. And how we spend, I think it's good to ask ourselves some hard money questions, when it comes to income, is it going to remain at the same level? Is it going to increase? Then if it increases, how will I work with the extra? When it comes to expenses, are they under control? Do you have accountability? Do you use budgets? These things we do not like. And asking yourself these questions will help you realize, where are you? How am I increasing in my investments? If this job ends today, like now it ended for most people, where were they? Had they put in some money, say, in the circle, and right now they can be able to, get that money? Had they put some money in some small-time investments? What kind of debts are you getting into?
Yeah.
Are they these bad debts? Such that now you really don't have a job, you're not able to pay these debts. How are you able now to clear these debts? Is it possible when you're in a position to reduce the bad debts while the good debts increase? So some hard money questions, financial literacy, asking yourself, what do I need to learn for me to be able to start from where I am, with now the situation that I'm in? Because financial literacy is free. Get to know what can I do with where I am, with what I have. And when you ask yourself these questions, now you'll realize, I think I can start somewhere. We talked about having no hope and having no action. But now you choose to take your situation, you choose to take action. I'm not going to die here. I'm going to, hope is the evidence. Faith is the evidence of things obtained. I need to arise and decide I need to move from where I am.
But sometimes you don't know where.
As we move on.
Sometimes, Ruth, you don't know where to move to, because this is so unexpected. There's a pattern of life you are used to, and for a majority of people, we have this notion that I barely make enough anyway. So sometimes even issues of budgeting and investing and putting something aside, many people would tell you, we would love to do that, but we really can't, because even what we are getting is not enough to meet our everyday basic needs. And so for that person now, it's gone. It's gone. I have nothing. The only thing I have is this salary. Let's work with the 25K. The guy said he earns 25K. He's been given his 25K. He's been told, adios amigos, bye-bye. We are done. So where does he begin? Because many people get lost, and like you said earlier, people will begin to sink into depression. And like we know, just like Liz has said, there's a disconnect. Sasa Masimu has leave. You can't hang out with the same people you used to hang out with because status may change. So where does somebody go? Where do they begin? How do they avoid sinking into depression? I'm sure, Liz, you went through that detachment from your colleagues and the status thing. Luckily for you, you had something aside. What about that person who doesn't have anything?
It's true, it does come with a change, because even just as you're saying, in terms of friends, engagement, you spend most of your waking hours and your waking life, ideally, in the office.
Yes.
So that becomes your circle, right? And when you leave that circle, and in this case physically, the thing that was bringing you together with the people at work was actually work. So that there's definitely a shake-up there. But I'm glad to have had some very good friendships from work whom I'm still to this date able to maintain contact with. Nonetheless, having said that, it's very key for me to mention that there are, other aspects that also feed into the transition, the financial perspective, or the financial view of someone. as Christians, whom do we prescribe to, especially in the value sense?
Okay.
If my value comes from my job, if my value comes from my money, then I am more hard hit when this thing happens, right? If my core and my center to begin with is God, then my value as a start is not, I'm still centered, I'm still core. I know whom I am, I know whose I am, I know that job or no job, employment or no employment, I am still who I am, and the strengths, the skills that I have, the value that I carry within me still exists. And it then makes the transition easier, even when looking for alternative opportunities out there, right? And funny enough, last week, Percy, I bumped into a devotion that you had done, I think like in 2014 or something.
What?
It was sent in our WhatsApp group. Yes. And you were talking about when perspective and looking at things, when something bad happens, is it really that bad? And you had given a story about an old man who only had a son, and they had a horse that was tired and worn down, and then one day the horse spotted, just like that. The village was like, you remember it?
Yes.
The village was like, oh my God, this is very, very, very bad. And you would always retort with saying, who said it is very bad, in terms of the old man? The horse went away, came back with wild horses, and they had now, what is it called? I was about to say a fleet of horses, a herd of horses. Then, then this person who had one rundown horse now has a herd of horses. Then the son breaks his leg, right? Then I think there was a war that broke out. All the village, I think it was ancient. I was thinking China when you were talking, when you were giving the
story, yes,
the devotion. So they come, they pick up all the young men, etc., etc. But perspective, really, if we are constantly looking at me losing my job as the worst thing that happened, we will not be able to see alternative opportunities that are there.
I like that. And Ruth, I'd want us to talk a bit about the value aspect, because for many people, when they lose their job, you think you've also lost your value, but that is not really true. And some of us have not been able to get to that place where we can quantify what value we bring to the table. Because I've realized people who know the value they have, they move from one place to another and it doesn't change who they are. They know this is who I am. Okay, if you don't need me here, I'll find somewhere else where I'm needed. So we'll talk about that shortly. If you have any questions for us, maybe you're the person we are talking about this morning, you lost your job and you're thinking, where do I go from here? Feel free to ask your questions via SMS on 20316, WhatsApp on 0786 316 316. Remember, it is the Financial Clinic. We are talking about unforeseen financial liabilities, focusing on what do you do when you lose your job. We are talking about unforeseen financial liabilities. What do you do when you lose your job? In studio with us via Zoom, financial advisor Ruth Njoroge, and also Liz Kerubo, who's actually gone through what we are talking about today. Thank you for your SMSs coming in this morning. I've got my namesake Martin Dongo. Martin Dongo is saying, I am like a car and my salary is like the wheels. If I lose my job, I ain't going nowhere. Martin, you have made my morning. Yeah, if you lose your job, you can't move. And then Ruth, there's a shout out here for you. This one is coming in from Lynette in Kakamega. She's saying that you and your husband were their best couple. Kwa hivyo, Lynette is saying hi all the way from Kakamega. Let's talk about value. We had started a conversation about value. Liz shared a couple of things about understanding your value. How important is that, especially at that time when you lose your job?
The Bible actually reminds us that money answereth all things. And there's a lot of things that we tie to money. It feels bad when you can no longer pay your responsibilities like paying for house rent. You have difficulty in paying for basic things like food. It definitely may want to dent who you are, but money should not define you. Lack of money, rather, should not define you. And sometimes what looks like a setback could actually be the opportunity you've been looking for to make a meaningful change.
Very true.
Have you ever realized when you're actually broke, that's when ideas come? Like I have a friend, both of them, the husband and the wife, they lost their job, and they've always been figuring what to do farming. And they've always feared, farming, it can rain, it cannot rain. And right now, it's 3 months down the line, and they're almost, they're halfway waiting for a harvest. So these setbacks that we go through gives us an opportunity to sit down and think. Your thinking ability has not been removed because of no job.
I like that.
You're still a person.
Yes.
You still can think. You still can volunteer. Your skills have not been made redundant because you've been removed from company X. Yeah.
Wow. Listen to this one. I think this message aligns with what you've just said. It says, Jemo, we were given unpaid leave from last year until now. They don't know how we are doing. I waited. Nothing came on until I realized I have to move on. And now I thank God that me and my wife, we have started a transport business. It is slowly picking up. We were financed by a bank. We have a 7-seater Toyota Alphard. We are hiring for weddings and all special occasions. And we can say our God is good. Opportunity.
I tell you.
Yes.
And who thought? When you're busy working, you don't even have time to do that transporting business.
Yeah.
But now all of a sudden you have time. I believe Liz can share here. Probably it was an 8 to 5 job, and the other 1 hour or 2 is traveling. So you leave home before dawn, and you come back when it's already evening. Right now, when you have time, you get an opportunity to think, and now decide, this is what I think I am good at.
Yes.
This is where talents, this is where ideas, and sometimes the 8 to 5 job is not necessarily even our purpose. We discover purpose, and we end up launching into the deep things or places we never thought we would go.
Wow. Yes. Liz, did after you lost your job, would you say your eyes were open to other opportunities that were around you? Is there anything you discovered in that season?
Yes, definitely. And I just like to say, Ruth, some of those jobs are not even 8 to 5. Some of them are 8 to 8. That's because of the way, you are giving of yourself. You are working as unto the Lord, But it is true what you're saying. You get to a point where you start to explore things about yourself that you had either forgotten, that you previously had no time for. You start giving yourself to other, activities, whether it's family related, community related, church related. I spent quite some time in terms of organizing in terms of alternative activities, something that I was very passionate about even before, just trying to develop and grow ladies within our community. But in this case, I do it through our church arm, of course, with the, support of our leads. But, those are the things that I was thinking about. I was like, when I was younger, when I was in university, when I was in high school, I used to go and reach out to people in high school, in university, to encourage them to develop themselves, to enable them to see that they are someone before they even get into giving of themselves to other people, to understand that God has deposited within them abilities and strengths that they're supposed to use for His glory and for His honor. So for me, I am actually, and still am, that's a good thing, and I'm still exploring different things about myself.
So you've not gone back to employment?
In terms of capabilities. Go ahead,
Have you found another job? Have you gone back to employment, or you're still exploring?
I have not found another job. I have done applications, but I am still exploring. And another thing is, you realize that opportunities are around you, and sometimes in the most unlikely of places.
Very true.
A bit recently, I actually partnered with a friend of mine, a former colleague, whom when we were actually colleagues, we were not really friends. We just happen to, how God has a way of putting things and bringing things together. So I actually partnered with a friend of mine, and we have an outfit that offers organizational, what are they called? We have a store that's called Luminous Lifestyle Store. So it just offers things to help you organize your life and so organize your life, organize your space.
Organizing seems to be your thing. In terms
of organizational drawers, organizational shelves, things to make your home more comfortable, things to make your home, even in this time of not COVID, I don't like saying that. In this time where we're more restricted with moving, we're able to make our homes more comfortable.
Okay, it seems like organization is your thing. I've heard you say that word organization so many times in our conversation today. But Ruth, just the other day last week, I was listening to a sermon by the late Miles Monroe, and he was saying about this lady who came to him crying, and sobbing and thinking my life is over because I've lost my job. And Miles Monroe looked at her and says, no, this is the best thing that could ever happen to you. And she was thinking, how can you say that? I don't know how I'm going to survive. And the late Miles asked him, do you have an oven in your house? And she said, yes. How many times do you use it in a week? She said, once, only on Sunday. And he told her, you have an oven that you use once in a week? What about the other 6 days? Because this lady had at one time made cookies for him. And so the story goes that he told her, go and make cookies, and take those cookies, take your last check, buy ingredients, make cookies, and take those cookies to your former employees, and don't sell the cookies to them. Give them the cookies for free. This lady thought you're crazy, but she obeyed. And quite a long story short, from that she began receiving orders, and she built a factory that makes cookies. Nowadays, she says the loss of her job was the best thing. Now, I'm saying that to get to this so that you can answer. Carol is listening. Carol says she lost her job a few months ago, and she feels like she is edging close to hell. She says, trying to apply for jobs, nothing is going well at all. Nothing is forthcoming. How does one break free from the mentality of I must be employed? Because many of us are raised up, and this is inculcated in us through our education system, through our parents, study hard so that you can get good marks, so that you can get a job. How does one break free? Because from what she's saying, she's looking for a job and she can't find one. And she thinks, if I can't find a job, then my life is over. I'm edging closer and closer to hell.
Okay, maybe Liz, you can start.
It's okay, go ahead, Ruth.
Ruth, say something.
I'm thinking you're in this situation where you have gotten to a place of you're aware, you're almost at peace with the situation. You're not at the first place, and she's talking. We are looking at breaking this bound of I have to be employed, because until you realize you're useful, until you tell your mind, I can do this, I can volunteer my skills. And from the opportunities you guys have had, you've actually been able to open, the outfits that you currently have. And this is a season of improving oneself. I like that example, Percy, you've given. You never know the skills you have until you start using them. A lot of people have developed skills during this COVID season, but now at this opportunity is giving them an extra income, Getting organized, because after you lose a job, there's that feeling of leaving everything to be. Do you organize your time? Maybe when you're employed, the employer used to organize your time, get in at 8, leave at 8, So getting back, and maybe Liz, you can add on to that.
Yeah. It's so true what you're saying about organizing your time. But also one of the things I'd say is, first of all, accept. I said, you sit with yourself and tell yourself, you know what? It is true.
Yeah.
I have lost my job, and it is okay. It is not a bad thing. It is not a good thing. It is just a thing. It is a fact that I have lost my job, right? And everything. And you also need to tap into the truth that you know.
Mm-hmm.
And this is actually, this period becomes a test of the things that you know.
Very
Does
true.
God say that everything that works for my good?
Mm-hmm.
So settle some of those matters from the get-go.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that works for the good of those who love the Lord. Settle that at the get-go. Then there are also other things that help in this situation in terms of the breaking free. Once you've settled it within yourself, be honest with other people.
Yeah.
You have a social support that you can engage with and encounter with, who also affirm your value in that respect.
Mm-hmm.
And then also I would say try things. There's a book I am reading called Just Do Something.
Yes.
Just do something. Sometimes we are so encumbered with, is this the right thing that I should do?
Mm-hmm.
Is this the right thing that I should do? Is this the way God is leading me? As a cover to, not that God should not lead us, but as a cover to our fear, our anxiety, our timidity. We have the Holy Spirit and we have God leading us and guiding us.
Mm-hmm.
Once we continually engage with God on our, daily, if it's through reading of the Bible, engaging with Him in prayer, in praise and worship, He actually directs our paths.
Okay.
He directs us through our thoughts. He directs us through engagements with people, and be open to try different things. Don't be so set on, this is a job that I used to do, then I have to do this. And as you rightfully said, about the story that you've given on the sermon, that you may have an oven and you may have a voice, and you may have hands, you may have an ear, you may have connections and networks that you can link other people with. Look around you and see that you have so many things around you that you can actually set your hand to it. And you know what? Commit to God. If you're not, commit to God and say, God, these are my options. Lay out your options, as weird and as diverse as they may be. Lord, these are my options. Show me and guide me how to go about them. And start somewhere.
I like that.
If it means knocking them one down after the other, start somewhere. That's the best way to go.
Very true. And I think Ruth, I think Ruth, there's something you said that is very important. You talked about thinking. I think many times we don't think. We don't pause long enough to think because we are so used to a certain cycle of life. And when that cycle is disrupted, then we don't sit down to think. And I think, for me, looking at this situation, one of the best things you can do for yourself if you lose your job is to step back. I like what, Liz, you've said, accept, but then also take stock. Take stock. What do I have? What can I do? I remember one time I was talking to a group of young people, and I asked them, if I was to lock you in this room and I tell you have 10,000 bob, and I want an idea of how we can turn this 10,000 bob into 100,000 shillings in a month, do you think if I locked you in here for a day, you can come up with an idea? And they said, yes, of course, we will come up with an idea. And that just proved that many times we don't pause long enough to think through things and to see what we have and what we can do and opportunities that are around us. Ladies, my time is almost up. Ruth, what would your parting shot be today to those who are listening?
For those who are not yet fired, I would challenge you, start planning ahead, because you never know when your employer, like Liz's case, was told your services are no longer needed. You need to anticipate. You need to start minimizing, the loss that may come. And then you also need to learn how can you be able to transfer some of these risks, from where you are right now. You have resources, so that when that time comes and now you no longer have this job, then at least you have a cushion. You're able to pick yourself up faster, than when you totally didn't have a plan. For those who are yet already out of employment, it's not yet over.
Mm-hmm.
You can start again. God establishes the thoughts of the righteous. As you bring a thought to him, he establishes it. So the question is, what is that in your hand? What is it that you can bring to God for him to use it? So that's my word.
Awesome. Liz, what's your parting shot?
I would say first that your value is intrinsic,
Mm-hmm.
right? Your value is intrinsic. Your skills are with you. Your skills are not tagged to your job or your title, but they're with you. And everything works together for good to those who love the Lord. You need to settle those things. And for those people who may be in a situation where their services have been rendered, they're no longer needed, try something. As Ruth has said, what do you have in your hand?
Yeah.
Take time, and as you said, take stock.
Mm-hmm.
Put down what you have in terms of skills, what you have in terms of resources, which is not necessarily money. Outline them, and you will see that you actually have a wealth of resources, a wealth of abilities, a wealth of opportunities out there.
Awesome.
Yes. And embrace the process. Embrace the process.
Great.
Don't run away from it.
Asanteni sana. Ladies, thank you so much for availing yourselves. Zipporah says, as you guys were talking about perspective, I had an idea of writing myself a letter for that day, so that when I get there, the letter will remind me of my value and that this is not the worst thing that could happen to my life. Zipporah, I think that's a brilliant idea. Go on ahead and write yourself a letter. I'm out of time for today. Asanteni sana. So if you tuned in this morning and you lost your job, if you've heard what Liz has said, because she has been there, done that, she has the t-shirt to prove it, but she's smiling all the way. Why? Because it's not the end of the road. There's so much more on the inside of you. Look out for opportunities and launch onto them and do the right thing. That's all the time we have for today. Have a great day and God bless you.
For this and more of our shows, log on to www.familymediaonline.com to enjoy a wide variety of programs, from current affairs to testimonials and features, pastoral and inspirational shows, kids entertainment, and so much more. Also stream live on www.familymedia.tv.